come. Imagine the compassion and the love of Jesus at that moment. These are children. You would deny them an opportunity to sit with the Messiah because of how your brain operates? A brain that clearly operated in division rather than in inclusion. We must figure out how to find inclusion within ourselves, harmony within ourselves, so that we can be drawn to harmony on the outside and in the community. Because division, in my estimation, is where death sits and waits. Oh, y'all not hearing me? For most of us, the most important thing in our life is our family. And if there is division in your family, death is waiting, sitting on the wall, waiting for the division to expand. I don't know what the argument is, but whatever it is, and if it's dividing the family, the thing that comes next is death. Division, then death. But God says in 21, no more crying, no more sickness, no more sorrow, no more death. Let me add to that list, no more division. Because division never helps us. It always divides us. And then it always causes separation. And then death alone. I don't know about you all, but I have a family where I have a few family members who have moved away far enough that they cannot be bothered or don't want to be bothered. They're bothered when they want to be bothered. How about that? And it's a division. But as they've gotten older, I now see that most of the family is over here, and they're over here by themselves. And they have put themselves in a position where they are going to die alone. That doesn't make any sense. When you've got family over here that actually love you. Don't let division rule the day. Eliminate the division. Even if you can't eliminate it, work on it. I'm telling all my business today, but I don't have anything else to do. I like to post pictures of my children. I don't really like posting pictures of me, but I like posting pictures of activities with my children. I have children in 6 states, 5 states. And I'm constantly visiting them because I think those relationships are the most priceless thing in my life. I don't have any perfect relationships, and my children don't have a perfect daddy, but I'm trying, amen? Sometimes your children will put you in situations that you don't want to be in. But you are supportive because you love them. And they love you too. It's kind of similar to what we do with God. God tells us to do one thing, we do our own thing. But God still loves us, doesn't he? And so I posted a picture. Someone was telling me about this yesterday. And apparently there's a member of my church who was a member of my first church who I love. I love her dearly. She's been sickly. She can't get out the way she used to. She has shingles. But she keeps an eye on her pastor. I mean, any way she can. And God created Facebook. And she figured out how to use Facebook to follow her pastor. Even though she hasn't been to church in probably 10 years. But she keeps up with her pastor, and she is on her pastor's team. You better hear me. And she called one of her daughters and said, did you see that picture of Pastor? He didn't look happy. And I want to know why he wasn't happy. And the daughter said, how should I know why he wasn't happy? But she said, you know, Pastor doesn't know how to pretend. So if he looked unhappy, he probably was unhappy. And so as she was relaying this to me, I was thinking about the moment where the picture was taken. And you know what? I wasn't happy. In fact, I probably was unhappy, but I was trying to be supportive in a situation that I, in my spirit, cannot support. But I tried, amen? I tried. I even took a picture to prove it. What I'm trying to tell us is that we must try to eliminate the divisions in our families the best we can. Because the alternative is not just death, but it is death alone. I hope that makes some sense to somebody. Now, I want to look at our identity, because these texts identify, and you can take that down if you have it up. These texts identify the tribes. It doesn't say which tribes. It doesn't say the 12 tribes of Israel. It doesn't say the tribes of Jacob. It says the tribes. And they're identified only by the jewel. They're identified by sapphire, chalcedony, emerald, sardonyx, sardius, chrysolite, beryl, topaz, chrysoprasus, jacinth, amethyst, and jasper. That is their identification. That is their color. That is their color when they are in right relationship with Jesus. Here's what I need to say. You only have color when you're in right relationship with Jesus. Because if not for the light, those gems have no color. I'm saying the same thing for you. You can only be your best when you're in right relationship with Jesus. If you're not in right relationship with Jesus, you can do some things, but you cannot do your best. Jesus only specializes in the best. Remember Cain and Abel. The issue was that Cain brought an offering that was not his best. Abel brought an Abel offering. He was blessed. He had the best of everything. God does not do mediocrity. When you're in right relationship with Jesus Christ, you are inspired to do your very best. Your rhythm is better. Your vibrations are better. Your energy is better. Jesus Christ is the light of the world. I want us to see today that here in this text, you have an identity. Now, let me I'm running out of time, so let me make two distinctions, two comparisons. How are you identified in the world? As opposed to how are you identified in God's Spirit? How are you identified in the world, Sister Isa? How are you identified in the Spirit? If we think about how we're identified in the world, go ahead. Through God, that's how you identify? Oh. What did I just call you? When I recognized you, what did I call out? I said, Sister what? What is that? That's your name. In the world, you're identified by your name. Amen? Is that right? You're identified by your name. Sometimes you're identified by your color. Sometimes you're identified by your economic background. Sometimes you're identified by your geographical place of birth. But pray with me. Pray with me. I'm putting this out here like a brick. I need y'all to pray with me, because we facing powers and principalities. Now it is coming to a point where, 1 minute, we are being, I'm dropping a bomb, we're going to quit. It is coming to a point where we are now being identified by our sexuality. Ooh. LBGTQRSTUV. flags. Either you are for us or you are with us, against us. Abortion, it's a sexuality issue. I'm leaving the radio right on that. I come back, but thank God we still here. We are now not being identified by our color. We are being identified and divided by our sexuality. I have not went to a minimal amount of places where someone will rise up and say, I am openly gay. They don't care about your color, your gender, economic background, or political affiliation. I am openly gay. Well, if I follow that mindset, I should rise up and say, I am openly heterosexual. I'll add a log to the fire. Some of you all know Queen Latifah, the rapper and the actress. She declared a few years ago, she said, black is the new gay. And at the time, I said, she's crazy. But now I realize that she knew the language and I didn't. We are no longer identified by our blackness. Slavery is no longer a reality. Slavery is now being called in our textbook involuntary servitude. Y'all ain't hearing me. They're changing the terminology, they're changing the game, and now you must either be identified as binary, poly, homosexual, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and they don't even talk about heterosexual. We are not fighting against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. And we are now being identified by our sexuality. Y'all not hearing me. I had an encounter with a young girl about less than a week ago. Beautiful girl. She was another girl who declared to me that she was African. Light skin, long hair, looked like she was from the Middle East. She said, I'm an African. I'm from one of the African countries. I'm an African. Another person came into the dialogue. As we dialogued, the person accidentally mentioned something about lesbians. The little girl's light came on. Lesbians? And I looked, because I didn't know what had just happened. She said, that's me, that's me, that's me. I said, wow. Forget Moroccan, forget African, forget female. She was more excited about being a lesbian than anything else. And she went on to tell me, oh, you don't understand. I said, well, what do you call gay men? She said, we call them Achilles. I said, what? Achilles had a gay lover, according to her. I said, I never knew that. I said, well, what do you call gay women? I'm trying to learn. She said, we call them Sabbathians or something. I said, where'd that come from? She said, the Greek. I said, wow. And I slowly began to realize that my blackness was being pushed to the rear. And the only thing that identifies me now is my sexuality, which ain't nobody's business. Huh? Ain't nobody's business. But when you live in the flesh and not in the spirit, when you take the truth of God and turn it into a lie and justify it, the language changes, the rules change, the identification changes. Now we have strong, black, muscle-bound men who wear hair like women and they consider that to be manly. And for those of us who may not agree, we are declared homophobic, which means that you are scared. I'm not scared. I'm disgusted, but I'm not scared. When we are ready to move into the new city, there's going to be a lot of people applying for membership. That we're going to have to wait on the Lord to decide, amen? Because I'm not going to do what white folk did to us. I'm not going to say you're out based on your color. I'm not doing that. My God is a God of kindness, mercy, and grace. We're all God's children. We all make mistakes. But there's going to be some ordering happening. God's going to do some ordering. Thank God I'm not in charge. Amen? Those of you who do not know, I have chickens. We have a chicken coop right outside. I'm surprised they're probably hungry. That's probably not why they're not making no noise. Every now and then the chickens come around the front. So I've heard reports from neighbors and the like. They say, Pastor, we see a chicken every now and then out in front of the church. And I don't worry about it because chickens always come back home to roost. They always go back. You don't have to chase a chicken. You see somebody chasing a chicken, they don't know what chickens do. They'll come back. Unless, of course, you're trying to round them up at a specific time. But by and large, they're coming back. They're pretty intelligent. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. So I haven't worried about it. Several people. There's a chicken in front of the church. We were cutting the grass Saturday. The grass is a frustration of mine because we have a lot of grass, and I like to keep it nice. But the riding mower broke down. So that put us back 3 weeks. Well, during those 3 weeks, it kept raining, the grass kept going, so forth. Finally got the lawnmower back, and we had to cut it section by section because you had to cut it twice because it was so high. Saturday, we finally caught up with the grass. Amen. So now we could do some trimming. While we're trimming, I get to one part of the building, and lo and behold, a chicken comes out. I said, this chicken been hiding here all the time. So chicken left. I chased the chicken on back to the coop, and I came back, and there were 12 and a half. It was 12 plus 7 eggs. What's that, 22? That chicken was sitting on 22 eggs. I said, all right, let me get these eggs. So I gather the eggs like we do every day, and I put them in a separate carton. The next day, the chicken came back looking for them eggs. And I stood out there Friday morning, about 8 o'clock, and I said, now, I don't know if you can eat those eggs because I don't know how long they've been under the, incubating. So they may already be halfway through the 21-day process of incubation. I don't know. Let me put these eggs back. I put them right back where they were. I didn't bother the hen. Sure enough, a few minutes, she was sitting right back on those eggs. So I had to have a talk with the hen. I said, look, baby, I'm not going to do to you what white folks did to us. You decided to move on up to the suburbs and leave the mother chickens behind. And I'm not going to make you go back to the ghetto. Amen? So I'm going to protect you, which is my job. Put some around you. And I'm going to let you bless your family where you decide to bless your family. Why am I telling you this story? Because sometimes we impose our will on other folk as if our will is superior. But it's not the case. And we need to learn how to meet people where they are and respect them where they are, rather than trying to make them change into where our mind goes. So they're doing fine. I just checked on her. She's good. I'll come put some more fencing around. And here's what's going to happen. I tried to incubate 40 eggs. I wound up with 2 very frail chickens or chicks that died almost immediately after they were born. She has 22 eggs out there. She's doing it the old-fashioned way. So if I wait a couple more weeks, I'm going to have what I was trying to do on my own. The Lord does it his way. I do it my way. My way didn't work. The Lord's way is going to work. So rather than going to buy 20 more chickens, the Lord has made a way one more time. Amen? We have 5. So I'm trying to say that God is preparing this place for us, but there is a good chance that we are not ready because we have let the world corrupt our mind and our spirit and our thinking, our praying, our expectation, our walk, our faith is confused. Thank God it doesn't take long to get it unclogged and unconfused. All you have to do is focus on what God has done for you. I'm done with this. I got at least a 4-minute story. Heard a story this weekend from a man. Well, let me say this. I know you all didn't notice, but I'm a black man, and I like being a black man. I got no apologies. God made me this way. You want to get mad at somebody, get mad at God. That's what he did. I'm going to work my hand. When I see black men, I am usually intrigued because black men always have something to say. I saw a brother with 3 fishing poles in an area where I wasn't sure there was going to be any fish. I just bought a couple fishing poles. Me and my son fished this summer, or at least tried to. And so I figured that he had something to tell me to improve my fishing game. Amen? Oh boy, was that the understatement of the year. I went over and I sat with him. As it turns out, he had a grandfather. He asked me my name. I had on a sweatsuit. He asked me my occupation. I was walking my dog. He said, what do you do? And I told him, I said, I'm a pastor. What's your name? I said, Sanders. He said, that's interesting. He said, the greatest man in my life was named Reverend A.J. Sanders, my grandfather. And he's passed on, but he was a great preacher. And we enjoyed that for a while. But then he told me about his grandmother. He said his grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. But prior to her being free, she was a slave. And on one of these fateful days, she was not necessarily where the overseer wanted her to be. The overseer pulled out his whip and he struck her. Rather than humbling herself, she turned around, she grabbed the whip and pulled him off the horse. They subsequently went and found 4 more men, tied her to a tree, and gave her 37 lashes. He said she was a small woman of frame, and, it was a tough day. All these years passed, and he's sitting on the porch with her grandmother. He said he was brushing her hair one day and recognized these horrible scars on her shoulders. He said, Grandma, what are these scars? She said, it is better that we not talk about it. On that day, not only did they give her 37 lashes, but after they were done, they took salt and rubbed it in the wound. He said later on his grandfather told him about it, and told him what happened, and he said he was brought to tears when he saw the scars and when he was told what they meant. Here's what I gleaned from that story. All of us go through something terrible. And we may go through something where people will rub salt in the wound for years. But there comes a time in our life where we realize that we're bigger than that. And it's not even worth talking about. Because we have the gift of forgiveness. We have the gift of peace. And you know what? We're still in the race. And it's something about those horrible situations that we don't even want to talk about that transform us into something that is closer to what God intended for us to be. Hear me now. They intended to break that woman and kill her spirit and kill her body on that day. But they didn't. They didn't. She got married. She had children. She had grandchildren. She became a homeowner. She got educated. She met the Lord. And she lived a full life. And one day she sat on the porch with her grandson while he stroked her beautiful hair. Ain't God good? Ain't God good? Won't God bring you through some stuff? God will bring you through some stuff so good that you'll be like Daniel, Shadrach, and Abednego. Well, they say a bad Negro. Daniel, Shadrach, and a bad Negro. When they went in the fiery furnace, word says they didn't even smell like smoke. I came by to tell somebody that God is trying to do you like them chickens and that grandmama. He's trying to move you on up. Moving on up just like the Jeffersons. Moving you on up. And the only person in the way is you. Get out of your way. New Jerusalem is coming. I hope that you are ready because it's not coming tomorrow. The time for revolution is not tomorrow. Tomorrow is too late. The time for revolution and change is now. Right now. Right now. The Lord is blessing me.